Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Durbanites FPL, coming to you live from Vietnam this week. So, guys, Game Week 5 preview, Game Week 6 preview coming up, starting with the table. Now, at the top, we can see a lot of changes. Our Boys FC jumping in the fifth leader in 5 weeks. This season has been crazy. A little bit of a gap there, 8 points, but it does get a bit tighter. Fatih still fighting himself in third and fourth place there, 3 points between her teams. Looking at some perennial favorites jumping in there, Zakia's up at 6, myself at 7, and here's one of the champs there coming in at 10, so just jumping in, the reigning champion. And surprise, surprise, our former champion at 11, so just 2 points between the two champions. It is definitely getting a bit tight there at the top. A lot of other jumpers along the way. Dog starting to make a move as well. Gunners, Goose jumping right off the bottom with a big week with everyone else suffering a bit. It's going to be tight going into this week. And one of the big questions that we need to consider this week is, do we triple captain or not? It's time to start using chips, guys. We're 6 weeks in. At week 16, we get 5 free transfers for the AFCON. At game week 19, we lose all our chips. So you've got a bench boost, free hit, wild card to be used, and triple captain all before game week 19. Don't stack those up and lose them. This week we're focusing on that, so let's start talking about it. So the staples still remain the same from last week. João Pedro in 60% of the teams, and just one additional manager having Mo Salah on their team. But for the differentiators for the week going ahead, Ryan Gravenberch, just one manager had him 15 points, the top performing and returning player in that game week. Nico Williams coming in with 10 and Bruno Fernandes coming in with 10 as well. As you can see, very few managers owning them, and so they make the difference in the table as well. Now, looking at hits and misses, we've got quite a few hits here as well. Again, the defensive points keep rolling in. Look at Fatih scoring on one team 20 plus, and then an iron wall 30 plus on the others. Myself picking up as well some points on defense as well. And look at the strikers as well coming in, buoyed mainly by Haaland. Haaland is owned by just about 50% of the managers, which is why you don't see him on either one of the lists. Big points haul for him as well, but not only for him, for Richarlison, for Bowen, and for Isidore. 9 points for all 4 of those strikers, and so super strikers coming in there: Didi, Hassan, myself, Mohamed Sadiq, Azra, and my pie. So on the on the elite striker though, just one out there. So Hassan coming in with one of his team's 30 plus points. By the way, Hassan was not well last week. We hope that he's doing well and on the road to recovery, and hopefully on the way to getting back to the top of the table. On the miss side, I've got to take that one. 18 plus points sitting on the bench this week. Not the smartest move as well. Putting Reinders on the bench, he did score well, and I could have done with him on the field. Let's move on. Looking at the best possible selection from all the players that we had. So look at that. At the back, Petrovic is the one goalkeeper that would be right up on top with putting Pope onto the bench just on cost alone. That backline is stellar. Nico Williams coming good for Nottingham Forest. Chalobah doing well for Chelsea. Burn for Newcastle. And Senesi has been a real find. A very good budget pick, guys, and not a bad couple of games. Bournemouth are looking like they're going to have a pretty good season based on what they've done so far. Reinders coming up with a good return. Bruno Fernandes as well. And then Gravenberch takes our captaincy by a long way. Up front, so much of struggle for strikers. So with Mo Salah not making it into the midfield, Erling Haaland also had to drop off with 9 points, but just too expensive for this team. Jared Bowen, Isidore, Richarlison getting the front three, so 4-3-3 for this week. Iliman and Jay not making it onto the team as well. Neither did Mohamed Kudus, and of course Mark Gehi having to sit on the bench just because of the performance of the front team. This team would have got you 118 or 144 with a big bench boost. Look at that cost, guys. 87.2, which means that anyone in our league can afford that team at this moment in time and have money to spare for a Haaland or Salah move later in the season, or Isak for that matter, Palmer when he's back from injury. So there's a lot of options there if you want to follow this template. Looking at the matchups coming up for the next few game weeks, just highlighting there, Arsenal and Newcastle negating each other this week. This, however, is probably Arsenal's hardest game that they've had hardest game for the next few that they have. As you can see, from next week onwards, they have a fairly winnable set of games, which, if they're seriously considering getting a chance to catch up to Liverpool already, who are flying this season, this is where it's got to happen. In the stretch, they should be able to try and get 6 out of 6, put the pressure on Liverpool, because Liverpool do have some tougher games coming up. Newcastle is probably the last hard one for them. Newcastle then also have a fairly winnable run of games coming into that, so start looking at how you'll strategize your players towards that end. Aston Villa not making a call on them this week as well, because they're pretty poor form even in midweek in Europe. But Brighton have some tough games coming up, guys, as you can see. So do Burnley. Now, Burnley, we usually don't mention teams that are anyway supposed to be struggling, but Burnley has had a great start to this season, so they deserve to mention. But City and Aston Villa, one after the other, and then a few games later, they're catching up with Arsenal. Might be a time for you to consider benching those assets. I wouldn't sell them. Guys like Jaden Anthony, Cullen, they have been scoring really well. If you can save them, maybe do that. Good budget picks as well. Fulham with a tough run of games, 3 out of the next 4 against top competition, although Aston Villa are still struggling, but Bournemouth are not, so still going to be a chance for the next 4 before you can look at those Fulham assets again, I think. And then, of course, Newcastle getting negated by Arsenal, but like Arsenal, from game week 7 onwards, you have a fairly good run for the next 9 game weeks with just a few issues along the way. Now, looking at teams that we're favoring for this week, Bournemouth, based on their current form, taking on Leeds away, this has got to be one that you got to look for. Antoine Semenyo's been absolutely flying. Their defense with guys like Senesi doing absolutely fantastic, and I expect Evan Nielsen to also be among the goals if it goes free this weekend. Man City, gotta have the game of the season, guys. They have the best expected goals average going into this game week, and they're playing the team that have the leakiest defense so far. So Burnley have been conceding. They are expected to concede a lot of goals. You've got Erling Haaland, who is in fantastic form. There is no injury, guys. He didn't play in midweek. I know there were rumors of a back injury. He's 100% fit to play, and I think if you look into your app now, you'll see that there's absolutely no warning against him. Definitely one of the areas where you might want to look at a triple captain is on Erling Haaland. Manchester United highlighting they're going back with Brian Mbeumo to Brentford. It's going to be interesting. And then Sunderland in the next week. Good win against Chelsea. Some are saying lucky, some are saying this is just football. It doesn't really matter. 3 points are 3 points, and United are on the way up into the top half. 2 more wins will really help settle that team down. Let's see what Brian Mbeumo does against his old school friends. Now, Notts Forest as well. This is an interesting one here, guys. Notts Forest have not been doing fantastically well. They've got some wins along the way. They have a good game against Sunderland. Sunderland are not any pushovers, but I mean, Nottingham Forest should have the beating of them. The reason why I want to call this out, guys, Notts Forest have got an up-and-coming star that we should not ignore. Chris Wood, we know that he's fairly old in Premier League standards. He had a fantastic first game. He's got 20 points so far this season. 13 of them came in the first match, and since then he has struggled to put points on the board. They have a striker that's now scored 4 goals in 2 games, 2 in Europe midweek and 2 in the Carabao Cup. His name is Igor Jesus. He is a 5.5 million pick. Insane value for money there. However, not sure whether he will get the run from Ange Postecoglou in the league so far. He's had very limited minutes in the league, but his form is undeniable, and I have a feeling that this guy is a pick that you want to do early, considering Notts Forest after Newcastle also have a fairly good run of games, and that they are a free scoring team. We know Ange Postecoglou is a very attacking manager, so you've got to bear that in mind. Take note of that word, guys. Igor Jesus. Watch him. If you have the need to make a change on a strike, if you've got the capacity, he's a great way for you to also save some money and invest in an Isak move or move to Haaland. Depends on what you're looking to do. Tottenham Hotspur as well. 2 fantastic games coming up ahead a chance for Thomas Frank and his team to actually make themselves the top contenders over and above Arsenal and Man City for the title as well, if they want to push Liverpool. Good form for them. Richarlison's, of course, the striker on form currently. They don't really have much choice. Randall Colomwani's out with a dead leg, and Dominic Solanke's still out. So I think Richarlison pretty much gets the minutes. So that's a good call out for that. Their defense has been fantastic, and I don't think Wolves or Leeds are going to give them too much of hassles. You've got all the top guys there: Romero, Van de Ven, Pedro Porro, Vicario, all are having fantastic seasons at the back. Jalpalinia up in the middle. They really have a strong defensive unit, and their attacking is not too shy as well. Good win for them in midweek, so they're looking pretty solid. All right, so with that, let's start looking at the specific players. So you can see quite a few knocks for Chelsea's backline. Levi Colwill still a long-term one. Tosin Adebayo is also out now, and Wesley Fofana. So guys, Chalobah, if you still have him, I was also considering transfer him out, but I think for now he's pretty much going to be guaranteed minutes with this kind of injuries, and he's a pretty solid defender. DEFCONs, he's quite active in the games. Ryan Aït-Nouri's out for Manchester City. Jared Brantwaite out for Everton. Martinez still out for Manchester United. Ola Aina and Murillo still both doubtful for Notts Forest. Fabian Schär is out for Newcastle, unfortunately, and Aaron Wan-Bissaka is doubtful for West Ham. That being said, though, we're looking at the picks that we have. So for goalkeepers, you're looking at Sells is a pretty good option for Forest over the next couple of weeks. Vicario for Spurs, actually probably over the next 5 or 6 weeks, he's got pretty solid. Everton for sure for this week, and Bournemouth for sure for this week. Both of those goalkeepers doing pretty well. From the defensive side, Pedro Porro and Van de Ven are the picks for Spurs, but you could also go to Romero. He's cheaper than Pedro Porro. He gets the defensive points. He's maybe not that attacking minded as Van de Ven and Pedro Porro, so that's the only reason he's not in this list. Marco Senesi from Bournemouth has been a revelation this season. So with Dean Huijsen moving out, everyone was thinking, including myself, Bournemouth are going to struggle at the back. Marco Senesi saw the gap and he has made it his own. DEFCONs are making a big difference. This guy gets involved in a lot of tackles. He very quickly gets his DEFCON in the game, sometimes even in the first half. So definitely one worth looking at. And at 4.8, you could really do worse with the defenders. Virgil van Dijk, Liverpool are pressing really, really good for the season already. 5 out of 5 wins. A good run of games coming up as well. So you got to expect Virgil could be one of those guys that you want to consider. Very pricey option, as is Joshua Guardiola. But again, City coming into a good run. If you're looking for someone who's a bit more cost effective, you've got Nico O'Reilly is definitely an option there. With the injury to Ryan Aït-Nouri, he's getting a lot of game time. He's got 12 points out of the last 2 games as well. Maybe not always hitting those DEFCONs, but definitely a player that's worth looking at. Then you've got Tarkowski and Mikalenko out at Everton. So David Moyes playing his defensive style of football. I mean, he's quite fantastic at setting up these defenses. Even gave Liverpool a tough time as well. So look at the two of them. They've got fantastic DEFCONs as well, and definitely a chance for either one of them to score. Nico Williams out of Notts Forest, again with Murillo being out, with Aina being out, he's getting a lot of minutes. Had a good week last weekend, so we pulled him up. And Milenkovic is another one that gets a lot of minutes guaranteed in that back line. Looking at the midfield, Noni Madueke unfortunately has a ACL injury, so could see him out for the season as well. Quite unfortunate. Martin Odegaard still doubtful for Arsenal, which means that you could see Eberechi Eze getting 90 minutes or 70 minutes, I guess, at least in the Arsenal jersey. But there's a lot of quality in that Arsenal midfield. You've got Martin Zubimendi in there. They can still bring in Leandro Trossard to play in that midfield area, and of course Declan Rice is there. So there's quite a few options for Arsenal. I wouldn't get too concerned. Spurs, on the other hand, losing a bit of their creativity with Madison and Kulusevski. However, with Xavi Simons in there, possibly you want to take a punt on him as well. Mohamed Kudus, good fixtures coming up in this next couple of weeks, so a chance for them. Pape Matissa, unfortunately doubtful, so it's possible he would get some limited minutes in this week's fixture. Cole Palmer is out for the next 2 to 3 weeks. It's quite unfortunate. He's having a bit of a rotten season, guys. Came off early in that defeat against Manchester United, mainly because he did have an injury, so it wasn't so much bad strategy by Enzo Maresca, but Cole Palmer was feeling extremely uncomfortable on the field, and the decision was made not to risk him. but rather to take him off early in that game. Omar Marmoush is still out, as is Ryan Cherki for Manchester City. Looking at the picks though, Salah at Liverpool, Szoboszlai at Liverpool. Now Szoboszlai is slowly drifting out of this list, guys. He had a fantastic game against Arsenal. Hasn't even really been picking up the DEFCONs, and mainly it's because Liverpool is so good at pressing. There's a lot of players carrying that load, so he's not a kind of linchpin figure. That being said, if you have a soft spot for him, definitely keep him on. He's an on-form player. Mo Salah always cranking up those points, guys, even if he's not doing it at the same rate that he did last season, in which he was mercurial. He's definitely a good banker. He's expensive though, so if you need the money, I can understand you letting him go. But I mean, if you have the money and if you have him on your team, he does give consistent returns. Tijani Ryan has been one of the finds of the season. Phil Foden is coming back on form again. Goals in back-to-back matches, guys. Phil Foden is looking good if you watch those games. Back to his athletic best. Fitness is looking good. Mindset is looking good. Pep is known to be favouring him for minutes when he's in good form, so I expect that he will get a start, considering that they also have Marmoush and Cherki missing in the midfield. If he starts, he's probably going to get some good points against Burnley, so if you have him, just keep him in there. Semenyo has been having a fantastic season, top midfielder so far this season for Bournemouth, and they had a good game against Leeds. Kudus and Johnson has been putting in the goals. You know, it's so funny that against in the Thomas Frank setup, he doesn't seem to be favoured for minutes, but he has scored consistently in many games for Spurs. So Brennan Johnson is an option for you. Mohamed Kudus is in there, and I haven't thrown in Xavi Simons because I haven't seen him do something fantastic yet, but everything that I hear from Spurs is that he's just ready to go, and when he unleashes, it's just going to be epic. So I leave it to you guys to make that call. And then you've got from Notts Forest, you've got Anderson and Ndoye, both of who are having pretty good seasons and pretty consistent returns. And then for Everton, Jack Grealish been insanely creative. Looks like he's slowly getting back to his best. Fitness is still probably against him if you've seen him play, but the creativity is there, the vision is there. He's been given a bit of a free reign in the midfield to move around, which is what he loves, and so he's super effective in that. And Element J, of course, he's still on penalties. He's been having consistent returns as well. Definitely one to consider. Last but not least, then let's look at the forwards, guys, and that injury list is insane. Gabby Jesus still out for Arsenal. Kai Havertz also out for Arsenal. Liam Delap is out. Jürgen Strand Larsen is also doubtful for Wolves. Wissa is out for Newcastle, should be back in a week or two. Solanke and Kolomwani, as we discussed, out for Spurs. Ekitike picking up an unfortunate second yellow and then a red card during the Carabao Cup. For those that don't know and didn't follow that story, he took his shirt off after scoring the winner for Liverpool, but that was unfortunately his second yellow, and so became an immediate red, and so he serves the suspension in this game, which would have been really handy for him. What it does do is open up the doors here, guys, for Alexander Isak to get more than 30 to 40 minutes on the field. He did play in the European tie for Liverpool. He was looking good. He did play, if I'm not mistaken, at the start of the Carabao Cup as well. Scored the first goal for Liverpool as well, so he's got his account up and running. Now it's time for him to go into the Premier League. I have to tell you though, Arne Slot has been adamant that he is not ready for 90 minutes already. He's probably at the stage where he's at a 60 to 70 minutes and he wanted to share it with Ekitike. But I think this red card has now pushed Alexander Isak into a starting spot for this week. So whether you want to favor him against the Crystal Palace defense that has been savage, not entirely sure, but that's where it is. There's also Federico Chiesa that could squeeze in, but again, I've not recommended them because with Liverpool's squad this season, minutes are going to be an issue. Rotation is definitely going to play a part. And then, of course, for Chelsea, Mark Guiu is having a crazy season. Loaned to Sunderland, recalled for Liam Delap, who's injured, but now also a bit doubtful, so he's probably not going to feature. Which means João Pedro probably has a better chance of featuring for Chelsea. Now, looking at the forward picks, guys, Erling Haaland, say what you will. Some managers love him, some managers hate him. He is scoring fantastically. He does do well against newly promoted teams. He does do well early on in the season. That's where he really gets his running start. He is probably going to be, when the stats come in, the most triple captain option for this week. Definitely an option that you want to look at. I'm looking at it seriously as well. But if not, there are other options that you can look at. Richarlison for Spurs is one of them as well. Good teams that they're playing against this week as well. And Evan Nielsen, of course, who's known to score well, playing against Leeds this weekend. But then you've got Wood and Jesus. Now again, looking at Chris Wood, fantastic servant for Notts Forest, great season, probably his best Premier League season last season, scored well in the first game. He has not been doing it for Notts Forest, and he's been getting a fair amount of minutes at the cost of Jesus. In the last 2 starts, Igor Jesus, 2 goals each game. Just thinking about Ange Postecoglou's field of play, considering the match that he's got this week, I probably think Igor Jesus is going to start, and Chris Wood might come in as a sub. If Chris Wood starts, he's probably going to get 45 minutes in which to try and make an impact. And if not, Igor Jesus is going to come in because he is just the on-form player at this moment in time. Richarlison is up front for Spurs and probably guaranteed a lot of minutes because of the other strikers that are missing. So there's an option for you as well. And he's not a bad striker, by the way, guys. He's known to score as well. He's pretty good. Better for Everton. Hasn't really been on fire this season. But again, it's just a bit of consequence, I think, of the managers as well, guys. David Moyes is not the most attacking-minded manager. He's the guy who wants to make sure that they don't concede and build from the back or work on the counter-attack. And with the high-pressing teams, it's not always possible to do that, especially if you're playing that kind of defensive game. Pretty much peters out into a 0-0 draw. You can maybe nick an early, a lucky goal or a penalty or something like that. So, unfortunately, it's not really working out for Beto, who plays better on a more attacking and risky style. So, with that, guys, I think that's what we have for this week. Big decisions on triple captain this week. Depending on how your team is going, you might want to also look at the wild card. Don't forget, we are now 6 game weeks into the new season. In another 12 game weeks, we're going to have all our cards refreshed. Don't hold on to them because the game weeks do get difficult. If you remember the fixture list, there's not many game weeks that have very, very positive fixtures that we can use. So use them wisely. We're going to catch up after this game week is done. Until then, don't forget to like, subscribe, drop us a comment. We always like to hear from you. Best of luck and see you on the next one.